And welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Grant Chachere, bringing you all the latest news in regards to your North Carolina Tar Heels. And last night, I stayed up quite a while. And no, before you start thinking, I know I'm from Louisiana, and I know we'd like to have a good time, but I can guarantee you right now that is not the case. I was up because I was forced to, sort of, kind of, in a way. I don't know how you explain it, but it doesn't matter because we had some major news that dropped last night, and that is the ACC could be going through some schedule changes. The ACC is going to have a meeting on Monday in regards to its new schedule. And right now, it's already been kind of agreed upon that the ACC will be moving to force, well, I wouldn't say force, but every member of the ACC, when it comes to football, will have to play 10 Power 4 games, which, of course, is your regular conference slate, plus one or two Power 4 games against, Power 4 opponents. And the final format hasn't been decided yet, but sorry, dude, I don't know why I'm coughing today. Allergies, man. Changing of the weather, man. Oh boy. But the ACC, they are voting on Monday on whether or not they want to go to either they want to stay at 8 conference games, or they want to go to 9 conference games. So it's either going to be a 8+2 format, which is what is currently going on right now, or they go to a 9+1 schedule. And what I mean by 8+2 schedule, so you'll play 8 conference games like you are now, which is what North Carolina and the other 16 members of the ACC are doing. And, of course, North Carolina has 2 Power 4 opponents, right? You have TCU, who I don't think North Carolina fans want to mention that game again. And then, of course, UCF, which will be played tomorrow, right? Both of those schools are in the Big 12. And if you look at North Carolina's schedules for the next few seasons, they play at least 2 Power 4 opponents. In 2026, they play TCU in Dublin, and then they play Notre Dame. So those are your 2 Power 4 opponents right there. Notre Dame is considered a Power 4, even though they're not in a conference, they are considered a Power 4 opponent because they are a charter member of the ACC. And remember, they're in the ACC for every other sport but football. Football, they're independent. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. It's kind of one of those things we got to – it's college football, right? It's weird. You just got to live with it. I don't know. I don't know why. People don't want to ask questions anymore. But then 2027, of course, you got UCF and Purdue. And then 2028, the only Power 4 opponent that North Carolina will play is South Carolina, where they have a home and home with them in 2028 and 2029. So how will this affect North Carolina's schedule? Well, for starters, if they go, let's say next year, they decide to go to let's say they keep it everything to 8 for next year, right? Then the schedule is fine because they played 2 Power 4 opponents. So they have the 10 Power 4 opponent threshold that they need to hit. But if the ACC decides to go to 9, which I think is a possibility, because reading so this all was a part of a report by ESPN. right? Yeah, I should have clarified that at the beginning. It was done by a report by Andrea Adelson and David Hale of ESPN, and so they interviewed a bunch of athletic directors and coaches. I actually wrote an article about it, so I mean the link will actually be in the article. It's hyperlinked in the article, so make sure you go check that out. And they interviewed a bunch of different people. One of the people they interviewed was Manny Diaz, who is the head coach at Duke. And one of the things he mentioned was about the 9-game conference schedule and the fact that even if you want to stay at 8. You also don't want to be the only conference that plays 8 games because the SEC, remember, is moving to 9 games. So, let's say hypothetically the ACC does move to 9 games. I can see a real possibility that the home and home against UConn gets taken off. They're going to keep East Tennessee State and North Alabama because those are easy dubs. They're going to keep their easy dubs. So don't get me wrong. They're going to keep them, right? People want to win. And I'm not saying UConn is not a winnable game. UConn's an extremely winnable game. But if you have to take one or the other, who are you going to pick? But it also depends on the money, too. I mean, there's also a possibility. But, that's just one of the things. Because in 2026 or 2027, you have 2 Power 4 opponents on your schedule. So you're not going to take them off. So I'm assuming UConn will probably be the team that gets taken out, but I could be wrong. And then 2026, they will take off North Carolina. It'd probably be Kennesaw State. Probably be Kennesaw State because they're gonna keep North Carolina A&T because it's an in-state school. They're not gonna screw. They're not gonna screw with the in-state school. And then I can't see them take. I think they're gonna keep James Madison because of the the strength of schedule. I think they're going to at least keep something because unlike 2026 where you play 2 Power 4 opponents, in 2028 you don't. So they're going to keep James Madison but take off Kennesaw State. Now I'll say this. Let's say they go down to 8. Let's say they still keep it at 8. What would happen then? Well, that would be very interesting because you got to take off one of those opponents and put in a Power 4 school. And, that will be very critical because everyone's schedules are, for the most part, locked up. So, it'd be really interesting to see in the upcoming days. But anyway, enough of that. That's kind of the first portion of the show. I really want to get into, I was originally going to do exclusively a UCF preview, but because of that big news that dropped last night, of course, I had to mention that. But UCF, UCF is a very explosive offense. They're led by Scott Frost, who, by the way, I'll just give you a warning. You're going to hear 50 million times about how Scott Frost played for Bill Belichick when Bill Belichick was the defense coordinator for the Jets in the late 90s. Just to let you know. I just want to put that out there. Just kind of warn y'all when you do watch the game at 3:30 Eastern time on Fox. Just had to mention that because they already kind of promoted it. They already promoted social media. So I just want to warn you guys. But UCF, 21st in total offense, averaging 491 yards per game. They are 20th in rushing offense, averaging 232 yards per game. They are 7th in yards per carry, averaging 7.0 yards per carry. So they're explosive. They have explosive rushing attack, and they're also 13th in passing yards per completion. They average 14.4 yards per completion. That is the 13th best in college football. So this is a very, very explosive offense. Taven Jackson wasn't the original starter at the beginning of the year. It was actually Cam Pancher, but Cam Pancher got hurt. Taven Jackson came in, balled out. He has completed 64% of his passes for 471 yards with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So he's played some efficient football. The last game against North Carolina A&T didn't really have to do too much. That just ran the ball, basically. So he didn't have to do too much, but through 2 games, pretty solid numbers. The rushing attack, of course, is led by Jay Nixon. Jay Nixon only has 6 carries for the year. But he also leads the team with 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Miles Montgomery, who Belichick's really high on, 29 carries for 114 yards. And he also has 4 catches for 103 yards as well. By the way, Jaden Nixon is also a very good back. He's a very capable back. It was a first-team All-MAC selection with Western Michigan last year, where he ran for nearly 1,000 yards. So he's a very, very good back. Wide receivers, they're led by Dwayne Thomas, 7 catches for 117 yards. He is a Charlotte transfer. J.J. Black has 6 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown. He actually caught the game-winning touchdown pass against Jacksonville State, the first game of the year. And ironically, DJ Black, where he actually transferred from a Division II school. He transferred from Limestone College, which is a very, very small school. And he took his chance to play at the Division I level, and that's exactly what he did. Oh, my bad. Limestone University. I don't know what I said Limestone, but they are a Division II school, and they are located in South Carolina. So, not bad. And then, of course, you got Dylan Wade, tight end, 4 catches for 54 yards. And he also is a transfer. By the way, UCF has 63 transfers. So very, very similar situation to North Carolina. But that's kind of the norm these days across football, whenever you have a new coaching staff. 4 of the 5 starters on the offensive line are transfers. You got guard Memlar from Washington, Carter Miller from James Madison, Keegan Smith from Central Michigan, and Preston Cushman from Ole Miss. The only returning starter is Paul Rupelt. He's actually German. He's originally from Germany, and he's 6'10", 330. So that's a really, really big boy. I wonder if he, UCF's basketball team is going to put him on the roster because, my God. But their defense is really deep. Their defensive line is really, really deep. Nigel Kelly is arguably their best player on the defense. So far, he's had 8 tackles for 3 tackles for a loss, a sack and a half, and a forced fumble. He was an All Big 12 honorable mention last season. So very, very, very good player. And that's somebody you need to watch out for from UCF on the defensive side of the ball when North Carolina is on offense, because he is a terror off the edge. An 84.6 defense grade from PFF, and also has a 90.6 pass rush grade from PFF. So really good numbers, especially the pass rushing grade, which is, by the way, elite, because once you get in the 90s PFF, those are elite grades. You also have Rodney Laura, who, by the way, is a North Carolina transfer. Speaking of transfers, he's had 8 tackles with 3.5 tackles for a loss. Horace Lockett, 6'6", 355, big boy, 7 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, a sack, and a PBU. RJ Jackson Jr. has 7 tackles. Malachi Lawrence, 4 tackles, a tackle and a half for a loss, a sack, and 2 pass breakups. And Sincere Edwards, 7 tackles and 3.5 tackles for loss. You got Isaiah Nixon, who has 8 tackles and 2 tackles for a loss. The whole defense is very solid, but their defense line is, to me, the one that's going to give North Carolina the most problems. And the thing about UCF, and as good as their front 7 is, look, this is a defense that is 36 in total defense, and they're in the top 10 in terms of passing defense. But they're 103rd in rushing defense, allowing 162.5 yards per game. That's a lot of rushing yards. And for North Carolina, a huge statistic to fall on if you're North Carolina, because you're because of your ability to run the football. And Damon June, even with a offensive line that has been struggling right now, is a very explosive runner. I mean, the freshman, he got a freshman, and he ran for 148 yards, 14 carries. That is a little over 10 yards per carry, 10.6 yards per carry. And that is somebody that is merciful, right? Of course, UNC's pass attack has been in, right? And I kind of expect to kind of end once again for UCF because UCF is a top 10 passing team. This is a really, really good team that North Carolina will be playing, right? I just mentioned the defensive line. But this is an opportunity for North Carolina to really turn the table. We've already seen them kind of turn the table for defense, but we necessarily haven't seen them turn the offense outside of Damon June. And Jordan Shipp, a really good receiver, is not like the difference maker you need to win games. He's not, he's a great receiver. He's going to be, but here's the thing: Jordan Shipp will probably be a number 2, number 3 receiver in the line of football. And I really want to know how much North Carolina's offense is limited because of play calling. Is it limited because of the lack of play power, especially at the receiver position? There's a lot of different factors in it, and I think you'll find out more about this team when it plays against UCF. I really do, and I just think that you're going to need more than just run the ball. You're actually going to have to pass the football. And, it has to come very soon because this is a very, very good defense, especially up front. I know the rushing numbers aren't looking the greatest, but I'll say this. Jacksonville State likes to run the ball. And they've been one of the top rushing attacks in the country the last 2 years. And then, the UCF allowed, I think about like 120, 130 yards against NC-A&T, but a lot of that came like the second half when UCF was already blowing them out. It's just one of those things. But also some other players you need to watch out for, of course, Jaden Bellamy and Jaden Bellamy and Jaden McDonald. Jaden McDonald is a very good player too. I think he's more of a linebacker though. But there's some really good players on this team. They're also pretty loaded in the linebacker spot too. Cole Kozlowski, Antoine Jackson, Lewis Carter, you name it. I mean, Kelly Lawson. This is a very good group of guys that UCF has. And if North Carolina wants to win, I mean, of course, you got to play strong defense like they've been playing the last 2 weeks. But they also need to find the passing game. You can't rely on the run game too much because eventually you're going to get got. So you're going to need to find a way to throw the ball down the field, whether that be Gio Lopez or Max Johnson. Could we see appearance from Max Johnson? Gio Lopez are struggling once again. The coaching staff gave Gio a little bit of a leeway because it was against Charlotte and Richmond, but you can't be doing that against UCF because if he does that against UCF, if he plays the way he's been playing against UCF, I could see the coaching staff going to Max Johnson. I really do because this is not working. And once again, I'm not sure if this is a play calling issue or this is a quarterback issue or this is a lack of skill talent issue. We don't know, but we'll find out against UCF. And really, not only UCF, but also against Clemson. Some of these teams down the stretch because the easiest – a lot of people say, North Carolina's the easiest schedule down the stretch. Not really because Virginia looks like they've improved. Cal looks improved. NC State's looking really good. Duke, and while Duke may be struggling, they got a hell of a quarterback in Darian Mensah. This isn't going to be an easy slate for the Tar Heels. So if you want to right the ship and if you want to head towards the right direction, it starts with a win over UCF. However, I just don't see that happening, unfortunately. There's a lot. Yes, North Carolina's improved defensively, but it was also against Charlotte and Richmond. And offensively, They really haven't gotten it done. So I don't know, but we'll find out this Saturday. I mean, hopefully, I'm pretty sure North Carolina fans are watching this. They hope I'm wrong, and if I am wrong, please comment in the comment section. Let me know. Please do. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I am Grant Chachere, the host of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast, and also your beat writer for North Carolina Tar Heels on SI. Thank you guys so much for watching, and you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.